What's the Buzz? So excited to have you all here today, whether you're here on Zoom with us, or if you're on LinkedIn Live with us, or if you're in YouTube, which I don't know if many people are on YouTube Live. I don't know. I'm not, but I would either be on LinkedIn or Zoom. So welcome to the ISB Society's What's the Buzz monthly chat series. If you're new, we have this every month. It is always the second Tuesday of every month, right here for 20 minutes. And I invite some guests with me to chat about something educational and informational. And we do record this. So let me hit record.
Last Thursday.
All right, let me hit record. Okay, so I think everybody is in here. So welcome. I'm your host, Amy Keenan, founder of the ISB Society, bringing you this monthly chat series, whether you're here again on Zoom. Oh, we got more people, Zoom or LinkedIn Live. So excited to have you here as we give you a 20-minute chat, quick fireside chat. Sorry, I'm muting people. Quick fireside chat here, and I'm so excited for you to be here joining us. And we are all talking all about today, the modern CFO's guide to faster, smarter budgeting. I don't know who wouldn't want that, because I know I would, since I own my own business and I want smarter, faster budgeting for myself because it gets kind of crazy. I am no expert by all means, which is why I have Keith Ellis here, CEO of Vivid Reports, to chat with you all about it. So very excited to have you, Keith, here on What's the Buzz this month. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate the invite. Hopefully everybody can see my slides because clearly I wore the wrong shirt today because it's, you've got that dizzying look to it, but anyway, I appreciate your time. And I think the big thing is everybody here, a lot of people here, it's a mixed group of, ISVs as well as, financial people, etc. So I think the main thing for me is just let's simplify it out. Let's think about this a little differently in terms of a problem statement, but also give everybody a couple of ideas, takeaways, right, that we can kind of walk away from in terms of learning. Vivid Reports, we've been in the business of financial reporting for 25 years. Probably, if there's nothing out there we haven't seen yet, it's kind of like we've been at this for a long time, and our whole world is really all about automating, consolidating, and simplifying financial reporting and budgeting. But we want to make sure you can do it without leaving Excel, and that's, I'll come back to Vivid at the end of the session. That's kind of it for the advertisement at this point in time. We're all, I think, sitting here. I know I am personally sitting here preparing mentally for budget season, which is going to come up, and September, October for most of us. I think a lot of people in this room, if you're sitting in that CFO or you're sitting in that controller space, you're saying, hey, look, I got to get, my summer's over. I'm now done. I'm now thinking about exactly what those spreadsheets are looking like. I'm probably populating a bunch of them right now. You're saying, oh my God, I got to do this again. In fact, I'm betting a bunch of you, if I asked you to raise your hand, in fact, you can use the chat if you want to, you're saying this year, it's going to be better than last year. This year, and you're going to say it with hope, it's going to be better than last year, right? And just, if you agree with me, just go on into the chat and say so one way or the other. So I think what we're going to find, though, is that a lot of times you feel stuck, right? You go out with the best of intentions and you really want to make something which is much more collaborative, much more engaging to the business, but truly you do end up getting stuck because it's just very challenging to shift if you're not able to free up enough time, if you're not really able to simplify the overall process. So I'm just going to talk about this in terms of not something that's overwhelming, but I'm going to put together some ideas so people can take away in 20 minutes and then hopefully give you some ideas where you can go. If you think about why budgeting feels broken, okay, a lot of it's that slow cycle. Three things really driving this thing. It's that slow cycle. Number one is, how long is it taking you to build that crazy spreadsheet that you're using every year? Most of the organizations that we first start out with, you've got a spreadsheet, and then every single one of your divisions or managers that's participating, they have a copy of that spreadsheet, and it's linked back to the first spreadsheet. And each one of those has very complex formulas, and God forbid somebody accidentally stick another row in there somewhere because it could break, right? And so what you get to do is once that's all set up, you get to go copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, because you're downloading GL transactions and you're going to populate all of the current year data, then you're going to populate last year's data, then you're going to do 8 months of whatever it is current stuff. I mean, by the time you're done, you're exhausted already, right? I mean, it's just a long, long process. So that's just you haven't even started yet, and you're into a slow cycle. Then you've got endless consolidations because you're going to run probably more than one cycle, right? You're going to go and put it out there, get everybody's feedback, bring it back, consolidate, say none of this adds up, let's go back out again, and you're just going to run cycles like that. And then you're also going to have difficulties in locking the process because you're going to go from I got to get my feedback in, and then somehow I have to go from I've got my feedback in, I know what my budgets are, to actually generating performers, and there's usually a big gap, right, between bringing it in and then generating performance. These are huge issues, right? And so the slowness of it and the amount of time you're consuming in doing it makes it very, very difficult. People say, you get frustrated because you just can't get a more granular cycle, a more granular budgeting process, a better budgeting process, because it's already consuming way too much time. The second thing is what I call a financial fluency gap, and it's the best thing or way to think of this is it's like it's your what's your EBITDA moments, okay? You're out there and you're talking and you're talking about how you're forecasting, and the first question one of your prime business stakeholders asks you is, well, what's EBITDA? What's earnings before interest, tax, depreciation? You know what I mean? Like the base level financial acumen is just not there in the business, particularly with a lot of the emergent managers that are coming in. If you want to push this down and really get a bottom of budgeting, we cannot assume these people know any of these words. They don't know some of these concepts. In fact, the numbers themselves in financial statements, the numbers themselves in the budget are very foreign. They're very abstract. Many operational managers are very physical. You walk them into a warehouse, they will know what's wrong with that warehouse. They will feel it in their bones what's wrong with that warehouse. But when they look at the numbers, they don't feel the picture in the same way a CFO does. And so you got to change that. You got to say, well, how do I build a process here that builds that fluency, not just in the budgeting cycle, but well before that, so that they can experience the tangible. And then there's that sense of operational misalignment. And this is kind of like that test for you, like that you want to create a more collaborative and engaging cycle, right? But you feel it's top down. You feel you're always dictating what the numbers have to be, and people are just making up stuff that it adds up, and it's wrong, but there's nothing you can do to fix it because time is against you. And at the end of the day, you just gotta be done. You just have to be done. And being done, you say, check in the box. And everybody else goes, hey, check in the box, we got a budget. And that's not what you want. And every year it happens. And every year you say you want to be different. And what this is it's actually a symptom. Okay. People say, I want to create a process that's much more engaging. But the disengagement is a symptom. It's not, it's a symptom of a much deeper disconnect, right? And it's a disconnect with the way people interact with your financial statements to begin with, and how those financial statements are tools in the business versus information for the business. And there's a big difference between those two. Okay. And so let's kind of step into some of these different things, because everybody knows there's problems out there, right? It's how do you fix it? And fixing it is, in my view, really a question of how simple can you make this? Can you really simplify the process down versus making it more complicated? Because there's a lot of people will talk about kind of convoluted things, like zero-based budgeting, all these other kinds of ideas, and that's not where you want to go. Where you really want to go is to two core thoughts in terms of driving simplicity. What's your foundation and what's your focus? And foundation is you got to get away from kind of, I'll call it heroic acts. Okay. Like when you think about your month end reporting, I'm going to bet many of you here are spending 4 or 5 days consolidating, using 30 tab spreadsheets to get the consolidation done across a couple of entities, or maybe you've got 2 ERPs, or maybe you got more than one currency you're dealing with. Anybody like that's probably 3 or 4 days of work that you're trying to get into. There's a heroic act of just getting your financials out, right? Just that baseline. And what will happen is in that foundation is it's a little shaky because the data could be a little inconsistent. Like have you ever had that experience? And I'm betting a bunch of you here have. Say hell yeah if you want to admit it, okay? One spreadsheet that you pushed out there didn't agree with the other spreadsheet that you pushed out there. Okay? It happens. It absolutely 100% will happen because it's that, again, the foundation has to be stronger. People also need to engage the financials. And this is the difference between a report that you hand somebody, it's just a set of numbers. The numbers have value, but that's looking at numbers. It's looking at the analytic aspect of it. The engagement aspect of it is, can I drill down behind the numbers? Can I see that this number 30,168 is composed of these GL transactions? Can I see behind that number and say, behind those GL transactions, these are all the actual activities. These are all the actual entries. Can I see behind that and see the actual invoices and things like that? Are the statements themselves a tool? Because when the statements themselves are a tool for interacting with a business, you're building financial acumen. You're building that ability for people to see this number is composed of all these physical things. This number is built up of all of these invoices that are relevant to me in my business. And I'm building up that I'm building a foundation upon which I build my budgeting cycle. And that happens throughout the year, right? It's not something that's instant. It's a progress of educating, helping people use the financial statements over the course of the year, but they are more than simply informational. They're actually a faster way of getting access to that ERP information behind. The second thing is focus. I'm going to bet if I took a sampling of about 10 of you, 4 or 5 of you would be spending more than 4 days pushing out your financial statements on a monthly basis and doing the distribution, okay, and doing the preparation and getting it out to your board and changing it for the different stakeholder groups, and doing the nice PowerPoint stuff and blah, 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 right? That's crazy. If you're spending a quarter of your time or your controller's time doing this, how do you expect to operate a better budgeting cycle? Because you just don't have time. It is not physically, I mean, you could superhuman the thing, and that's exactly what everybody does, right? Put that big S cape on, with the big swoosh on the front, and maybe you can fly. I can't, but that maybe you can. But the whole thing is that if you got 25% of your time sucked up in just the basic blocking and tackling, getting statements out every month, it is exceedingly difficult to layer this type of thing in on over top of it. There's just way too much time, right? Especially if it's everything manual. So you have to kind of say, well, look, what can I get rid of in my process here that frees up enough time that I can actually be more successful as I go through this whole thing? Because if I can't free up time, I can't evolve my process. I can't evolve the maturity of my overall financial organization. So what I'm going to do is the first thing, when we talk about budgeting, I'm going to bring this back to budgeting now. I want you to think about budgeting, really changing and transforming your budgeting cycle as a journey, okay? People talk about wanting to get to continuous forecasting. Fantastic. And then they go, but there's no way in hell we can get there. Why? Oh, it's just taking too long. Well, we just can't get there because it's taking too long. Well, but I can't get down to the level of detail I need to get to in my budget. They're all remaining very high level. I want to be able to produce more reports, and I want to be able to provide more variance analysis. I want to be able to provide a lot more insight in these reports, but I can't get there either. And it's this frustration that builds. And people need to stop and say, whoa, 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 whoa. Focus on foundation, focus on focus. What are the different things that you're doing? What are you getting off of your plate, and how do you strengthen your foundation on the plate? The first thing you're doing is you're simplifying your financial reporting. Okay. Number one, go from 5 days down to less than half a day. It should be able to get 80 to 95% compression in the amount of time it takes to consolidate your financials. Absolute full stop. And if I can't get it for you, I'll guarantee it that we can get it for you. Okay. That's just period. See, once you're able to do that, you're able to start freeing up some time. The reality of change is that you need time to do it. You need time to think about it. You need time to be able to execute on it. If you don't have time, you're going to do exactly the same thing. I think it was Einstein or something like that said, if you bang your head against the wall, this many times and in this many ways, what makes you expect a different outcome the next time you do it? Okay. I'm just kind of paraphrasing that particular one. It will be exactly the same unless you free up more time, right? So that 80% compression in time, you're going to use that to get more analysis, to think through how you're going to do this, but also to begin distributing differently and be able to provide a much more uplifted set of financials that you can actually engage. And that dynamic set of financials, move over to foundation. If you're releasing dynamic financials rather than static reports, meaning I can drill down, I can interact with them, I can see transactions, etc. I am starting to build acumen in my financial team. I just start widening that out, right? I'm able to see these splits. I'm able to get in behind the data. I'm able to control who can see what, these kinds of things. But as I'm able to do that, I'm building financial acumen. I'm starting to get people looking at those reports and using them as tools in the business. When I get around to my time of year when I'm doing budgeting, they're more familiar with it, right? I'm back into something that's much better. Now let's go out to widening FP&A. What am I going to do with some of that time? I'm going to widen my FP&A. That's something that's incredibly frustrating for all of you. Why? Because you're already doing 20 reports at the end of the month, doing 21 reports. Just shoot me now because I don't have time. Okay. But if I can do the 20 in about, less than an hour, then I do have time. And I can widen my FP&A and I can do the operational finance piece. I can go out to my stakeholders and say, what report are you downloading GL transactions every month and trying to regenerate yourself? How can I help you automate that? Because in the process of doing that, you're going to learn what are they doing in budgeting and forecasting today on a real-time basis. You're going to pull those ideas out and start bringing them back into your templates yourselves. Even if you're just going with a flat vanilla template, the one that you've already been using for years and years and years, and you're able to automate, pulling in the data, right, from historic transactions so you can drill down and see these invoices that were there, that's magical. It will already compress your time to get your budget down by about 70, 80%. And that's case study stuff, okay? It can send you real clients to do that. But when you get it this other way and you start engaging the business where they live and the reports that you're generating, you can help them automate some of those things. That's true business partnering. You're broadening that base of reports that are out there that are being driven off the GL. You're taking that learning, you're pushing it back and creating a much more granular and engaging template that you're running from. Now you're into a much more automated budgeting process, input consolidation, version control, iterations, locking, audit, all those kinds of things. Because that's the barrier to going to more continuous forecasting. It takes you too long and it's not automated, right? Those are the kinds of things. So if you want to go continuous forecasting, you're looking at a monthly cycle of doing budgeting, right? Plan, replan, plan, replan, plan, replan. That's where now continuous forecasting is a core business tool. And you can't get there if it takes somebody more than 15, 20 minutes twice a week. Right? You can't get there. It's really, really hard unless that's a fully automated process, right? And so you can step through this progression, but it really starts by simplifying that layer of what it takes to get the reports out. And yeah, stay in Excel. It's fabulous, right? You can stay in Excel and use that flexibility because you're going to have to continue to iterate, and learn as you go, okay? Now, a couple of things that I'm going to stop. And by the way, throw questions into the chat if you want to throw questions into the chat. I've got a couple minutes left here. I'm going to run faster, Amy, okay? I guarantee it. Inside the budgeting cycle, a couple of tips, all right? One is context is king. And so the more years of history, the better your budget generally is going to be, right? And the more you can show trending, the more you can show the variance drivers themselves, the more you can uncover those. And that's particularly important as you're working with the business as their partner. The better the budgeting itself is going to be. And everybody wants to make sure that you're average. You don't want to be way out over on your budget, only way under on your budget. Both of those are fail conditions. It's the context of people being able to in. The empowerment of management, most of the time the budget is driven so top down. Think about drivers, square feet, linear feet, units, headcount, deals, average deal size, these kinds of things. Those are pieces that are less theoretical for people. So drivers is a much better way of doing budgeting versus top down trying to work backwards from a number you're trying to get to. And the last thing is be very careful about your assumptions because those assumptions that people are making that drive the different scenarios, those things are absolutely critical. to keep throughout your entire year. So think through, how am I going to do a better job? If you do nothing else other than this year, change that one thing. Think about how you're going to change those assumptions and continue to use them better over the course of your year, because that will, in and of itself, improve your budgeting cycle this year, even if you're not going to adopt a little bit better tooling to help you along the way. Okay? So, Amy, I think I finished pretty close on time. Let me just give you a quick thing on about Vivid, just to wrap
You're
up.
good.
We do, thank you. I mean, I'm trying to at least finish at least reasonably close. We are about automating, consolidating, and simplifying financial reporting and budgeting without leaving Excel. Again, we've been doing this for 25 years. And so a lot of what people come to us for is they've got some degree of complexity. We integrate to over 60 ERP systems, probably 65 or 70 at this point in time. But the reason why we're connecting those systems directly to Excel is that you don't want to personally deal with the complexity. Meaning you might have multiple ERPs, you might have, some of our customers have 100 entities, right? Some of them, like Sotheby's, you're dealing in 7 different currencies, and you've got to be able to do that translation. We've got one that we're working on right now. It's got 3 different charts of accounts. You got to map them all together. Multiple year ends, budgets, databases, scenarios, multiple everything. But you got to bring that down to something simple that you can actually get the financial reports out. You can get the budgets working correctly, and you can compress that time to do all of that by 80, 95%, somewhere in there is typically your zone. We don't want you abandoning your current reporting. Vivitize. We can show you how to take that. You like that term, I can tell, Amy, you smile. Vivitize is basically taking an existing report that you've been using forever and your management team knows and loves, and turning it into something that automates and refreshes. You can drill down on and control and things like that. You also have to get rid of the inconsistencies between spreadsheets. I don't want you dealing with that. There's a better way to mesh the basic flexibility of Excel as just a UI now with discipline, definition, and control and security, so that you're really uplifting that capability in a different way. And I don't want you waiting on IT. I want you up and running, being able to build your own reports in about 2 weeks. Okay, it's kind of what we're doing. It's very, very fast time to value. We really believe in a couple of things. One is make the complex reporting issues easy to deal with. Really, I think you'll find responsive expertise is always within reach within our organization. And CFOs, there's so much complexity, so much acquisition going on out there in today's market, so much change going on in the market today. We can't assume what was working before is going to work tomorrow. It's just not. It's going to break. It absolutely is going to break. You need to future-proof that. How do you future-proof that? It's just making sure that you're putting in something that's highly flexible for whatever it is that shows up in the future, so that you can adapt to that thing as quickly as possible without having a lot of reliance externally on other consultants or having a lot of reliance externally on IT, et cetera. And it's all about unlocking that strategic capability from a foundation of just simplify the financial reporting, free up the time, redeploy that time into many other things that you can now do far faster. Amy, thank you. I appreciate your time today going through it. That's great.
Well, thank you for joining me and being part of What's the Buzz this month. I loved your 2 words, foundation and focus. I think that's so important as we think about budgeting, and budgeting season will be here faster than we know. So why not start now and make things and make your lives, make your spreadsheets a lot easier for everybody. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise and how you can help.
Amy, thank you so much. And if somebody wants to reach out, there's my email address, keith.ellis@vividreports.com. It's right there. I'm easy. I'm approachable. What I am like in real life is like what I'm like here on the show. It's just, let's have a conversation about what you're trying to do. Or reach out to me at 416-816-5982. It's kind of musical sounding. You'll get used to the idea over time. It's a lot of fun. But yes, if we can help you out, if you're on the side of being another ISV that's similar to us, we work and partner all the time. If you're on the implementation side, we have a wonderful partnering program that's extremely advanced. And on the customer side, obviously, our big thing is we're very benefit driven. It's can we actually help? And if we can, a lot of times we'll success guarantee that. We'll make sure that we have a very, very successful implementation going through. So, Amy, thank you very much for all your time today. It's been a great discussion. Cheers, then.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time on What's the Buzz. Bye.